Okay, so today I finished up my essentially my tour of giving lectures, and I in total I spoke to about 70 people. My goal was to speak to 100. Didn't quite happen. That's all right. I still reached a lot more people than I would have reached had I not, pursued this route. And I'm doing some research on burnout and essentially just exhaustion. What's going on, Teresa? It's good to see you, guys. And what the research is showing is that if your personal values and mission are not in line with your company's value and mission, you run the risk of having burnout, right? And one of the things that I know, what's going on, Skylar? One of the things that I know about myself is my mission is mission, right? My mission is giving. And so for me, I can do a ton of giving outside of the company, outside of company values. So I don't necessarily need the company to approve it. And for me, and this is something that I want to talk to all the PTs that are going to watch this at some point. I am nobody, right? I'm nobody. Who am I? Like what value do I have? I don't have a ton of value. I don't have a huge ego, right? And I think it shows, that this year I was ranked in the top 40 by UpDoc Media for PTs throughout the country, and I guess theoretically, in the world, if you look at Paul Goff is in that list, and it has to do with the work that I'm doing for mentoring and giving back through my blog. I'm going to do it whether or not I make a list. I don't make a list. It's who I am. It's my innate self, right? And with that, you have to be humble, right? So the first lecture that I gave this week, I got 20 minutes, right? And some people would say, well, 20 minutes isn't really worth it. It's not worth my time to go sit through a meeting to only speak for 20 minutes. I challenge you, to say, well, then what is worth your time? Do you need to be in front of 100 people? Then how do you get in front of 100 people? Figure out how you can reach the masses to educate people. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that on this last one. So the first lecture that I gave this week was at the Forest Park Neighborhood Association. Well received. Had some questions. I think in total, they gave me 20 minutes to talk, and I spoke for about 30 minutes based off of all questions that were asked. The second meeting that I did was the Reedwood, make sure I pronounce that right, not Reedswood, but Reedwood Neighborhood Association. And they gave me 15 to 20 minutes to talk, and then with all the answering of questions, I went to about 30 minutes. Out of the first one person came in for a free consultation. The second one, another person is coming in next week for a free consultation. But I'm not necessarily doing it for the free consultation, right? I'm doing it to give away information. I'm doing it to give away trade secrets, trade secrets. This third one was awesome, right? So they said, okay, you can come in and give a lecture to people, and let's just make sure that you're educating everybody. Awesome, let's do that. And I timed my lecture last night at 45 minutes. I spoke for an hour and 20 minutes today, okay? When people see the Paul Goffs and the Greg Todds and the Ben Fungs, they see where they're at today. They see that top of the hill status. But nobody sees the climb to the top of the hill. Nobody sees them, giving lectures to 5-10 people, striking out multiple times. Nobody sees that part, and I really think it's important to know that you have to get out there and do it. And if you do it and you lecture to 2 people, whatever. You lecture to 10 people, whatever. Eventually, you will get out there and you'll become known for being somebody who... Nick just posted on one of them. You'll become somebody who's known for giving back to the people. And that's extremely important, because once they see you as a resource, and they know you and trust you. I'm going to jump on some tangents here, because I'm seeing how some people are trying to use these workshops, right, to sell, right? And the question is how soon do you have to sell in order for that to become worth it for you? And honestly, when you look at the average lifespan, being in the upper 70s, I've got a lifetime with that patient. I've got decades with that patient. I don't need to sell anything to that patient tomorrow. I need that patient to come to me whenever they have a question, whenever they have a problem. I need that person to come to me as a resource. And as long as they see me as being a resource, they're going to come to me for every single problem that they have. Okay, so there were a few things that came out of today's lecture that I definitely want to touch upon. Right? The first thing is, first, people have a lot of questions. And we have the ability to answer these questions. You know, we have the knowledge, we have the time, we have the resources. At least we should, right? So like, you definitely have to feel comfortable in your own skin. So one patient or one potential person, a potential patient, asked me, how much information do you give on nutrition? Because I touched on nutrition in there a little bit. And you know, I said, well, look, I give general education. Giving nutrition is outside of my scope of practice. You know, I can't prescribe somebody a diet, but I can give a ton of information, but I can't tell them what to eat. And she said, thank you for saying that, because she's a registered dietitian, right? She's a nutritionist. And she's like, so many people step outside of their scope. And I agree with that, right? So like, we get upset as a profession when personal trainers are trying to diagnose patients with pain. And we get upset when people claim to be using physical therapy because, you know, it's a protected term. But yet we expect other people to just say, hey, what's up? They're just going to give nutritional advice. And even though it's outside of their scope, they expect it to be okay. No, it's not okay for us to step outside of our scope of practice. I like reading about nutrition. I have an interest in it. But my interest doesn't allow me to give prescriptions, right? Just because it's something that I enjoy reading about doesn't allow me to give advice on it because it's outside of my scope of practice. We don't learn this stuff in school. So that's the one thing. She was very appreciative of that. But, you know, I got questions on vertigo. I got questions on vestibular hypofunction while I was there. I got questions on the floor test. I mean, you know, when you stand, you've got to be comfortable in your own skin, right? Because, I mean, I'm standing in front of the people and I pull up the research article. Sorry. I pull up the research article on give me a second. You know, and I pull up the research article on how fast does the Grim Reaper walk. You know, yeah. Not too many people like to hear about, you know, that your increase for death, your risk for death increases over the next 5 years if you can't walk a certain speed. Not too many people like to hear that research. But if you're not comfortable in your own skin and you don't feel comfortable giving that research, you know, you got to figure out what you can do to make yourself better, to start just, you know, sharing facts. And I said that to the people, you know, multiple times, you know, hey, this is going to be hard for you to hear, but you need to hear it, right? Because it's real. And, you know, they shook their head. Yep. Understandable. And giving them that information earned their trust, right? Because nobody's telling them that. You know, another thing that happened was I talked about contraindications to exercise, you know, and I talked about blood pressure. And today's lecture was all about how to exercise as you age, right? And so I talked a little bit about blood pressure. I had one slide on blood pressure. And the one person asked, wait, you mean therapists take blood pressure? And I mean, I was shocked, you know, that was even a question, because, you know, I said, hello, doctor. You know, and you know, sometimes I talk to people just like I'm talking to you guys here, because it's real, right? It's who I am. Hello, doctor. And I said, of course I take blood pressure. I take blood pressure on 100% of my patients on the first visit. And if I forget, it's definitely done on the second visit. But rarely ever do I forget to take it on that first visit. And this person said she'd been to therapy 3 separate times and nobody has ever taken her blood pressure. And she didn't realize that was a thing for physical therapy. And, you know, I explained to her, hey, look, if I don't know what your heart status is and your blood status is, I can't exercise you and expect your heart to work more if it doesn't have the capacity to do it. You know, and it made sense, you know, and it makes sense to the people when you explain things to them like that. But you really do have to make sure that you're telling them the difference between appropriate and inappropriate. Know that. And so they were shocked, but appreciative of knowing the information. And once that happened, once they started asking the questions and they realized that I was just going to start spitting truth, man, all the questions started coming in. So I talked for 2 hours answering questions on everything. And the church was It was at a church, Mount Zion Baptist Church, and the church was really technologically advanced, way more than I am. And so they had everything set up on Apple AirPlay. So I was going back and forth on my phone, pulled up stuff by Dr. Severin, so gave Rich Severin a shout out there on Vitals Are Vital. So they wanted information. We have information. 2 people scheduled a free consultation from that today's lecture. So in total, this week, I failed. I spoke to 70 people instead of 100, right? I shook hands with 70 people instead of 100. I answered 70 people's questions instead of 100. The only way that we're going to get better as a profession is to get out there and educate. If we aren't doing that, if we're not letting the public know who we are and what we do, then we are 100% dependent on a referral source. We know based off of the Julie Fritz article, I think it was Fritz and Childs, that only 7% of the patients are coming to physical therapy after seeing a primary care physician for back pain. That's back pain, folks. That's 5 million Americans at any one point in time, and only 7% of them are coming to us. So if we only depend on our referral sources, we're going to miss the 93% of people. You can hear Paul Goff talk about this. There's a lot of people that talk about this research study, but this is just for back pain, right? I mean, today I educated about sleep. I educated about overall fitness levels. I mean, there's so much information to go out that's out there that people need to know, and we have access to it. And if you don't know it, then you know what? I mean, people are gonna realize it over the course of time. You will be found out, because if they come to see me and then they go to see you, good luck. If they go to see you and then they come to see me, it's happening. I'm taking patients right now, right? Patients are leaving their therapists because they're hearing about me now in town, and they're leaving their PTs that they've been going to and coming to see me. It's already happened with 3 separate patients that they've been to a therapist long term, and then after one visit with me to give me a shot on a consultation, after one visit with me, they've left their other therapist. Okay, we need to make sure that we're stepping up our game, and everybody needs to step up their game, because otherwise, those are going to be the only ones that have, right? Thanks for watching. I had a good time. Reached a lot of people. I'm going to take about a week to 2 off to just veg for a little bit and hang out and not cram my schedule, and then I'll probably jump right back into speaking in the community again. So thanks for watching. Have a good day.